Action.
One guy is happily divorced. One guy is happily married. One guy gets called daddy by his 3 beautiful daughters. One guy gets called daddy after a credit card approval. One guy won a state high school basketball championship. One guy only covered a state high school basketball championship. One guy does voiceovers for fast food chains. One guy only eats fast food. Does this seem weird to anybody else?
Crazy!
Can this sports writer and this sports fan share a radio show without driving each other crazy? From the TireRack.com Fox Sports Radio studios, here's Fox Sports Radio's Odd Couple, Rob Parker and Kelvin Washington.
Password.
Ack, a dack, dack, a ack.
Enter, brother.
That's right. Come on in. You now have full access to this fine radio program for the next 3 hours.
Not 2, not 3.
Thank you, LeBron.
Not 4.
No matter how you listen in, Fox Sports Radio, foxsportsradio.com, the iHeartRadio app, or Sirius XM Channel 83. Wow. Say my name,
Rob Parker.
Say his name,
Kelvin Washington.
And we are indeed the Odd Couple. And we're broadcasting live from the TireRack.com studio.
We'll do it live.
TireRack.com will help you get there. An unmatched selection, fast free shipping, free road hazard protection, and over 10,000 recommended installers.
Wow.
TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be. And always remember,
The Odd Couple was filmed in front of a live audience.
Skeety beady.
all right, a TV theme song Thursday here on The Odd Couple. And what a show we do have for you today. Gary Washburn, in hour number 2, of course, the Boston Globe national NBA writer. He'll stop by. We got a little shop talk as well. And it's Thursday. That means Taisha's Tower of Trivia. We'll do that in hour number 3. And last call just in case you don't get in on some of the topics we will have for you today on this very fine Thursday. But first, let me welcome in my partner. He is
Kelvin Washington.
What's up, man?
What's happening?
Good. I'm looking at Alex right now since it's Taisha Tower of Trivia coming up in a little bit. And I'll tell you what, look at the joy it brings Monty. Whatever. Weren't you hating on me last time, Monty? We used to be cool, but I don't know if I'm messing with you
Hating you
anymore.
on the game or hating me for not having a key card to get in?
No.
Which of the two?
No. First of all, snitches get you know what's okay.
I mean, you're a full-time employee. Where's your card?
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Pros, answer. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! Did he get it?
Okay, reset, take 2 or 3, whatever. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker here on the Full Court Press. Fingers crossed that we'll get through this hour without any other further issues.
Yeah, we're figuring this out. We'll get it done.
Yes. But we're broadcasting live from Las Vegas. We spared no expense to find the best deals possible.
Clearly.
To get us here. There was another way we could have done a radio show, but the conference wanted to charge us like a big pile of money. And we're like, what? We'll figure out another way.
Yeah.
And with that comes its own set of issues. But
We're not made of money, so we can't be like the big networks that can, do their radio shows like right next to the court and whatnot.
So we'll try to figure out something better for tomorrow. But we'll keep our eyes and ears open for better opportunities.
We'll try my hotel next time.
Yeah, there we go. But we are broadcasting live from Las Vegas. The Mountain West Conference tournament underway at the Thomas and Mack. Full games yesterday on the men's side, and then the women's championship last night, which was an exciting game. And then we've got games going on today. We already have one men's game in the books. We have another game deep into the second half. Maybe not too deep into the second half, but it's in the second half.
It's about halfway. We've just entered the fourth quarter, as you might say.
Yes. So we'll continue to give you updates on what's going on between Boise State and San Diego State. Earlier today, New Mexico got past San Jose 63-52 in a defensive battle. But right now it's about 10 minutes to go. Boise State and San Diego State in a very close one. Then at 7 o'clock Mountain Time, it's Colorado State versus Nevada. Wolfpack got past Fresno State fairly easily yesterday, and the early lines today, Colorado State only favored by 4.5. So Nevada could make it an interesting showdown against the Rams later on tonight. And then the nightcap, 9:30 Mountain Time, Utah State and UNLV. That means KVNU game day coverage on our sister station, KVNU. That'll get underway at 8:30 with J.D. Walker and Stockton Jukes. You also hear from Jalen Moore, and then tip-off at 9:30. Full play-by-play coverage on KVNU. And then as soon as the game is over, KVNU Aggie Call will fire up to take your phone calls and your texts, keep you up late at night to react to what happened, to see if Utah State's going to be playing another round, or if the Aggies' day is done. And they'll know a little before midnight what the situation looks like for USU.
Yeah, I'll figure out whether or not I get to do 14 hours of driving in 2 days. Dave, that's not the most exciting. Granted, I've never been to a Mountain West tournament where the Aggies left earlier than the semifinal. So that includes going back to the Tim Duryea days. So apparently I'm the good luck charm.
You're the good luck charm.
So,
and as we kind of talked about yesterday, as far as bracket hopes, bracketology type stuff, Utah State needs to win just to be sure. I think they're in no matter what, but they'll be sweating all weekend if they lose tonight. If they win, then they're in for sure. Yeah. Like San Diego State, they're on the bubble. They're among the last 4 in a lot of different projections that are out there. They need to win to get in. Boise needs to not only win tonight, but they probably need to make it all the way to the championship game, if not win the whole darn thing to get in. But for the Aztecs, they're on the bubble. I don't think Utah State's on the bubble, but if they lose tonight, it doesn't help their cause.
Yeah, they kind of end up on the edge of the bubble, and you add doubt. That's the biggest thing with the Aggies. If they lose tonight, is you add doubt, and you never want to leave any doubt in the minds of the selection committee, because if they can entertain any doubt, it's an excuse for them to leave you out. And when you're a mid-major team, giving the selection committee any kind of excuse to leave you out is courting with disaster, just because the selection committee is not very kind to mid-major teams. But even then, I think the Aggies, in the fact they've been in so many of the recent tournaments, they're earning some of that goodwill that mid-majors can earn, the kind that San Diego State has earned a lot of times. I think San Diego State, despite some concerns I think I had yesterday, the more I've thought about it since yesterday, I think they're in pretty much no matter what. Even if they end up losing to Boise State here, which, they're tied 47 all with 8 minutes to go there. They just hit the under 8 media timeout. So I think San Diego State's probably in no matter what. They've built up some goodwill, and I think the Aggies are slowly building that with how many times they're getting to the tournament. They're becoming more of a, the more casual fans who fill out their bracket every year. It's like, hey, I see this Utah State team a lot. They must be pretty solid. And there's a similar effect with the selection committee. It's like with St. Mary's and Gonzaga. They just show up in the tournament all the time. So clearly they need to be in, because that's the kind of program they are. So I think the Aggies.
Didn't they see like something like 19 straight NCAA tournament appearances for Gonzaga?
Yeah, something like that.
Or is it more than that? It might even be more than that.
And I think they've won their first round game just about every single one of those as well. Like, they make the tournament and they win in March. Like, that's what they do. They've not won a championship. That's kind of the one thing that's missing from the resume. But yeah, like, you can build up that goodwill as a mid-major to the point of Gonzaga, where they're not even considered really a mid-major. They're like kind of on an island of their own in the West Coast Conference there, soon to be Pac-12. But yeah, I think Utah State gets in, but I think the line and I think we were talking about this yesterday, is that the line is, if Utah State loses, they're probably a play-in team. They end up going to Dayton, especially if there's some bid stealers. I think that ends up putting the Aggies in the play-in, having to play an extra game just to get into the field of 64. So that's kind of what the Aggies are playing for. That's what's at stake for them. And then if they won the whole dang thing, they could maybe get a 9 seed, which I know based on the interaction I've had on social media, a lot of Aggie fans would actually much prefer a 10 seed at this point, given a win in the first round puts them up against the likes of like a Duke or an Auburn or something like that.
Right, yeah.
I think they'd rather play, I think right now St. John's or something like that is somewhere around a 2 seed. Like you're looking at, instead of a top tier team, you're looking at like a top 10 team, which is still tough, but a lot more doable.
Michigan State go up against a former Aggie,
there
Shimon
you go.
Zapala.
Would Shimon recognize any of the players on the team? Is there anybody left? Like, was Mason there when
was Mason red shirt?
It would have been like his red shirt. If they ever crossed paths, it would have been during Mason's red shirt. So obviously they would know each other pretty well, but I don't know if anybody else on the team was even around.
That would be it. Mason would be the only one.
I'm gonna double check this because now I'm curious.
Yeah, but just looking at the latest in the bracket matrix, bracketology. What are the seed possibilities for Utah State? As of this was updated earlier today. These get updated throughout the day now at various points of the day because these conference tournaments are ongoing, and we know automatic qualifiers or we know teams lose and they drop out of consideration, and so a lot of these guys are adjusting their brackets a couple different times during the day. So as of right now, I just hit refresh. So as of right now, 106 different brackets are being monitored on Bracket Matrix. And according to all those 106 different brackets, New Mexico is currently a 9 seed, and Utah State is a 9 seed. San Diego State is an 11 seed. So they're in that play-in first 4 type territory.
There's still one bracket that's leaving them out, kind of stubborn. I think that's Spartorvik's bracket still.
Yeah, that's right. Utah State and New Mexico, they are in every bracket that's out there that is being reported on.
Which is a good sign.
Yes, great sign. San Diego State is 105 of 106. And then you slip down into out of consideration right now in the at-large kind of consideration. Boise State is appearing in 10 brackets, Colorado State in 2.
So, yeah, basically if you converted this into that whole first 4 out and the next 4 out, Boise State would be in that first 4 out where they're third, like, because you have Ohio State who's on like 34 brackets, and it's Texas, then it's Boise State. And then Colorado State would be in the next 4 out. They appear in 2 brackets now.
Yes. Yeah, they've kind of gone back and forth between 1 or 2. Not very many brackets are giving much recognition to the Rams, even though they're number 2 in the standings in the Mountain West Conference. Clearly a team that has work to be done. But how they play against Nevada tonight will be interesting to see how they do. That's a game that will precede Utah State's matchup with UNLV. So both the Nevada schools in the night bracket in the Mountain West Conference. But you also kind of keep an eye on other games going on in other conferences. Are there going to be other bid stealers out there? Or will some of those other teams on the bubble, will they lose and still leave the door open for a 4th team out of the Mountain West Conference to be considered? But also there's other, like the WAC, are they going to get 2? There's some consideration. Will Utah Valley, Grand Canyon, can they sneak in by some measure of somebody else not doing very well? So those are some of the things to kind of keep an eye on in these other tournaments. Other teams that are on the bubble, do they get hot or do they fold? And does that provide an opportunity for a 4th school out of the Mountain West?
And from what I've seen so far, I'm not very good at keeping track of bid stealers. Others are much better at keeping track of that than I am. But I think the thing is with like the WAC, like I don't think you're going to get both of Utah Valley and Grand Canyon, because Grand Canyon's only in on people's brackets as a presumed automatic qualifier. I think Utah Valley is kind of in that same spot. So I think it's just going to be really tough for them to get both. I know with the Big West, UC San Diego, they're a team that's seen more as an at-large. Like, they're the presumed auto bid out of the Big West. Has the Big West championship game happened yet? I suddenly can't remember. I can't keep track of half of these tournaments.
As far as the WAC, while you double check on that, I'll look at the WAC. Utah Valley and Grand Canyon, they just, by the way that bracket is set up, they already advanced to the semifinal on opposite sides of the bracket from each other. So they're just waiting to see what happens. That tournament is happening just down the road at the Orleans Arena here in Las Vegas. They're waiting to find out what happens between Seattle at Abilene Christian and then Tarleton State versus Cal Baptist. So those are the games going on in the WAC down here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and then the Big West, they've still got a few rounds left. UC San Diego and UC Irvine. Those are the two teams they were looking at. UC San Diego's they've built that, borderline at-large resume from a one-bid league. You kind of saw this from Indiana State last year, where it's like they probably should have been in. They had a good enough resume, but because they were considered in a one-big league, they got left out when they didn't win in their conference tournament. Is UC San Diego going to be like that? Or what if, UC Irvine, who probably has a bit of a weaker resume, what if they end up winning the conference tournament? Because that's where you get a bid stealer. Is that, if UC San Diego, maybe do they stay in, just barely make it in by the grace of the selection committee saying, hey, look, your resume is good enough. Maybe they'll get in the play-in, but, have some grace on the Big West, let them be a two-bid league. Or do they knock them out? That could be a situation where maybe there's a bid stealer. More likely, you could end up seeing a bid stealer in one of the bigger conferences where, if somebody upsets the one seed in the Missouri Valley, that's just the one team they get. But in the SEC, if you get like a team that wasn't expected to get in the tournament and they win, they're not knocking out any of the other SEC teams, and that's just a team that's getting that spot. So that's where these big bid stealers can come from.
Yeah, so, looking at bracket matrix, like does Ohio State start playing well in their tournament in the Big Ten? Does Texas do well this week?
Yeah, because those are the teams on the fringe. So like if they secure that, then they're getting in, and that could be the bid stealer. So those are the things you're worried about if you're Boise State and you're eyeing any scenario where you don't win the conference tournament. If Boise State gets to the championship game and loses, they basically have to pray that there were zero bid stealers, because that's the only way Boise State's getting in. Colorado State, they have to win the conference tournament. Just straight up. They're not getting in if they don't win the conference tournament. Yeah. And for Boise State, in probably 95% of scenarios, the Broncos don't get into the tournament if they don't win the conference tournament. It's weird when I keep saying tournament over and over, and it's like I start having to specify which one I'm talking about. But they don't get into the big dance. Neither of them, I think, get into the big dance if they don't win the conference tournament. Boise State at least has a slight chance of getting in if they don't win it, but it's pretty slight.
Yeah, it's pretty slim. Going back to our Young Power Sports of Logan text line to get your score predictions for tonight, Utah State versus UNLV in the nightcap of the Mountain West Conference Tournament. 2603, Aggies 86, UNLV 71. That'd be a high scoring game. Where the last time the other times these two teams met, one game was in the 60s, mid to low 60s. The other game was in the mid to low 70s. But certainly an 86-point performance by Utah State would really be something against UNLV.
Yeah, that would just end up being a tremendous offensive performance, kind of akin to what they did in one of the Boise State games where they scored 81 points in 58 possessions. The thing with predicting like a high score for offense is that these are likely going to be low possession games. There were a few more possessions in the second game where the Aggies were able to push the pace at home, because there were 61 possessions in the game where Utah State lost. There were 70 possessions in the game against UNLV, which is a decent number, but not a high-paced game. So, this isn't going to be a high-paced game, I don't think, unless the Aggies can just really take control, force a ton of turnovers, and really impose their will, which I suppose if they do, then I guess they can just absolutely go off. With the second UNLV game, they really should have scored 85 points, but they missed 10 free throws in the second half, basically the second half alone. So I if everything goes right, I think they can score in the 80s. But I think a more realistic but still optimistic prediction has the Aggies in the mid to high 70s, UNLV in the mid 60s, and depending on how optimistic you want to be, maybe even high 50s.
Yeah, that's kind of where I've got this game tonight for Utah State. But if you want to give us your score prediction, we always love to see it on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line 435-339-0321. Gonna take a timeout here on the Full Court Press. When we come back, let's take a look at, before we move forward for other games going on tonight or other games happening around the Mountain West, let's look at the all Utah State transfer team. Guys who left Utah State and are still in action in other places wearing different uniforms. How are they doing? And if they were to stick around, what would that team look like? So we'll discuss that next here on the Full Court Press.
Advanced Fireplace and Stove is honored to be a 4-time gold medalist in the Best of Northern Utah for the fireplace install retrofit category. They work hard to take care of their clients, and they ask for your vote this year in the 2025 Best of Northern Utah competition. To find a quick link to vote for them, go to advancedfireplaceandstove.com. That's advancedfireplaceandstove.com. Thank you for your vote in the Best of Northern Utah. They really do appreciate it.
This is Catherine Buse with Cache Valley Bank, and we understand that concerns about fraud can weigh heavily on you. Your peace of mind is important to us. That's why we're committed to looking out for you and your family. Our team keeps a vigilant eye on your account. If you ever have concerns or need support, we're just a call or visit away. Whether you need advice or just someone to talk to, our friendly staff is ready to help. We're more than just a bank. We're your neighbors, and we care about your security. Visit your local branch today. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Did you know Daryl's technicians are factory authorized and trained to do your warranty work? This is Jay with Daryl's. Our repairmen have access to the largest parts department in northern Utah. That means we often get repair done the first visit. Schedule your appliance repair today to lock in your no-risk service. If you want new instead, you can apply your trip charge to an appliance purchase. See store for details. Daryl's west on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
Following the local teams, it's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Hey, make sure you fill out a bracket in the 106.9 The Fan Locker 42 Bracket Challenge. It's being administered by Yahoo, but Locker 42 is ponying up. They're offering hundreds of dollars in prizes. Get and a variety of different Aggie gear will be available to the best bracket. So go fill it out. Go create your bracket now, so you don't have to try to figure that out when that brackets actually become available on the weekend. So go register your bracket today and invite your friends to join as well. Love to get a lot of people in there, kind of compare how we're doing against each other. I'm hoping to win, not because I can get the prizes, but just so I can have the bragging rights.
I'm hoping to lose.
So go check it out. Link is available on our website, 1069thefan.com, and or just go to Yahoo and go to their fantasy sports and just search for 1069 The Fan Locker 42, and you'll be able to find it. So Jason, you put this together the other day. Earlier this week. We and started over the weekend for some conferences, but the all whatever conference teams were revealed, as well as individual honors handed out, and a number of former Aggies got recognized from their various conferences.
Yeah, 5 different former Aggies that are still in college got some sort of honor. You look at Stephen Ashworth; he was all Big East second team. It's interesting because his first year at Creighton, he saw his stats take a bit of a dip, but this year, almost 17 points a game. He's got 4 rebounds and 7 assists. So he's hitting some career numbers. He's having a big year with Creighton. So he's all Big East second team. It tells you how good of a year he had, and he's still second team.
Yeah.
That's the Big East for you. Max Shulga, he's the A10 player of the year for VCU, averaging 15.5 points. Just under 6 rebounds, 4 assists per game. Josh Duje, obviously all Mountain West third team, revealed earlier this week, 16.5 points. I think it's a career high, 16.5 points. Great Osibor, he's Big Ten honorable mention. And then Rylan Jones, yes, he is still playing. This is, I believe, 6th or 7th year.
I know, that is bonkers to me.
He was the All-Southern second team, averaging 11 points, 3.5 rebounds, 5 assists. So all 5 of those having good seasons, but some other players doing pretty well too. I think so I've got how many? I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 players I think on here, and 10 of them are playing notable roles for a Division I team. Dallin Grant has been a bit of a bench warmer with Utah Tech, and Garrison Phelps transferred down to New Mexico Junior College. But everyone else, most of them starters or playing notable roles. So you start with Javon Jackson playing for Illinois Chicago. Actually, I can't remember if that's a Division II team or if it's a low major Division I team. But he's averaging 11.5 points. Max Agbunk-Polo went to Montana State. Averaging 10 points there. Khalifa Sacco playing for Sam Houston, averaging 7.5 points, 6.5 rebounds. Nigel Burris, Aggies already saw him at Weber State when they played in that exhibition. He's averaging 6 points, 5 rebounds. And Shimon Zapala, not getting a ton of minutes, but is their starting center for Michigan State, averaging 15 minutes a game, almost 5 points, and just over 4 rebounds per game. So.
It still just seems really weird.
Yeah.
Seeing him in a Michigan State jersey. Like,
yeah, and
he was okay, but I don't remember him being like a P5 starting center.
Yeah, he was one of the Aggies, still is one of the highest rated recruits for the Aggies. And I think he was just kind of a bit of a late bloomer as a center. So just, and mind you, he's not playing like this massive role, but, he goes out there, plays 15 a game, puts up a couple of buckets, grabs a few rebounds, maybe get a block or two. And so he's playing that key role for Michigan State. So yeah, having a nice season there. But yeah, kind of the thought I had is when I was putting this table together, and I put it on social media, and I was kind of thinking to myself, like, what? Because there's about 12 guys on here, so that's basically a roster. You get 13 active players for a season. Or technically, I think 15 active. But, you're usually not going much further than a, 9 or 10 man rotation. So, like, what if you made a rotation out of this group of players? Like, how good would they do? Like, how good of a pretty good team? How good of a team would this be? Because, like, I was thinking, what would the starting lineup be? Because, like, the 5 players that won the all conference awards, I don't know if you'd make a great starting lineup because it's a bit guard heavy. You'd kind of be lacking some size on the wing. But, like, Stephen Ashworth, Max Shulga. Maybe you start Rylan Jones in there. Maybe you have a 2-point guard lineup and just kind of roll with it. Osibor starting at center. Probably throw Agbunk-Polo in there at forward just to give you some size in that lineup. And then coming off the bench, you got a couple of really good centers that you could have. Maybe you start Osibor at the power forward and you start Sacco or Zapala next to him. But you have Agbunk-Polo as like a versatile forward. Javon Jackson is a spark plug off the bench. Nigel Burris to come in, hit a couple of 3-pointers. Like,
that's not a bad roster.
That's a team that, like, I don't know if it's a perfect roster as far as archetypes and makeups and all that, but, like, you got some star power with Ashworth and Osibor being, like, all-power conference level players. And both of them were first-team All-Mountain West when they were here. Shulga, who's gotten even better than what he was his last year at Utah State. Duje, either him coming off the bench or maybe starting at small for once again. Like, this is like a high level Power 5 team, and this is the guys the Aggies have lost in just the last two or 3 years. I think Zapala transferred 2 years ago. So, but everyone else, I think, transferred either this year or Rylan Jones was also 2 years ago. So, like, most of these guys are within the last 2 years. A couple of them are 2 years ago. And, like, these are the players that Utah State no longer has. And it's like you put them together and they're they're like a 6 or a 7 seed is like a mid-major team.
Yeah, they'd be good.
So, and
a good team.
And the fact that Utah State has still made the tournament every single year after losing all of these guys, like, again, it was the point I made when I posted, like, the resilience of this team, that you're losing this caliber of player on a regular basis, sadly, but you keep replacing them, because a lot of these guys replace some of the other guys. Like, Osabar came in when Ashworth left and all that. And Aduje, when Shoga leaves, it's like they keep finding ways to replace star players with other star players.
Yeah. It's crazy to see that list and just what they've done. Some of them, some guys move on because they recognize they're searching for better opportunities to see the floor more than if they would have stuck around. But other guys, they were getting recruited away to come to leave to pursue other opportunities. But still, all the same, kind of funny to see that list and see what those former Aggies have been able to do.
Yeah, and it's been great for them. I know the Aggie coaches have sometimes struggled after they leave Utah State, although Ryan Odom's doing pretty good. But the players have actually tended to do pretty well so long as they find a good opportunity. So,
hey, before we hit another timeout, this game is almost over.
Yeah, I didn't realize how close it was getting to being over.
Boise State has just come out and just totally flipped the script in the second half, outscoring San Diego State 31-18 so far.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing really is San Diego State just went cold. And they tend to be more clutch than this. They've missed their last 8 shots. They're 1 for their last 12. And they have not scored. And if they don't score again, they will have not scored in the final 4 minutes of the game. And while Boise State hasn't exactly been tearing it up on offense, if you don't score for the last 4 minutes of the game, it's kind of hard to win.
It doesn't matter who you are.
And I don't think there's 36 seconds left and Boise State has the ball.
Yeah, Nick Boyd's been playing really well, but he really isn't getting much help.
Yeah, he's got 19 points and a decently efficient 6 of 12 from the field. And if I did the math on everyone else aside from him, it probably wouldn't be pretty.
No. So unless something crazy, just bonkers happens in the last little bit here, Boise State is going to advance, and they will face New Mexico in the semifinal tomorrow. And that game will be at 6:30 Pacific, 7:30 Mountain. And interesting to see how this plays out. Neither of us had Boise State advancing.
Yeah, we both thought that San Diego State would win. I thought, I went on at length in the first hour about how much I thought this was a matchup problem for Boise State, but and this is why I added that caveat that despite the fact that I thought it was a huge matchup problem, there are ways to get around it. And, well, one of those ways is to play dang good defense, which is what Boise State has done. They've played good defense and made it so, you can have all the matchup problems or matchup advantages you want in the world, but if you can't score, you can't win. And so Boise State went out there, had a good enough half on offense. Again, they didn't light it up, but defense can win you these games. Again, San Diego State, I think, will end the game with not having. Oh wait, no, they're probably going to score 1 or 2 points here, but they won't have hit a field goal for more than 4 minutes because their scoring drought right before they take these free throws with 13 seconds left in the game. Their scoring drought's at 4 minutes and 3 seconds. So yeah, the Broncos came out here and played good defense. I'm trying to find
great.
The second half. Yeah,
second half is just big difference.
They scored 19 points, so they finally scored a point. So their scoring drought ends at 4 minutes and 3 seconds. But they haven't made a field goal in 9 minutes.
That's only scoring is at the free throw line.
Yeah, they have not scored. So we just went final. 62-52 is your final score. San Diego State did not hit a field goal in the last 9 minutes and 11 seconds.
Wow.
So that's just
crazy.
That's just how cold. And so San Diego State, 33 points in the first half, and it's not a high total. It's not bad. Boise State, 34 points. It's not like where UNLV just flipped the script in their game where they scored 47 points in the second half to outpace. They didn't have that kind of offensive turnaround. But when you only allow 19 points in the second half, like they did to San Diego State, that's going to win you a lot of ball games.
Aztecs clearly on the bubble. Will they get in or not? Made to fully depend on a lot of other factors outside of their control now. But do you put the Aztecs in? It's not one of their best seasons by any means. And then what was the series like between Boise State and New Mexico in the regular season? We'll look at that now that we know what that side of the bracket is going to look like. We'll continue to look at other games going on, other updates of scores throughout the Mountain West in college basketball. and a lot of other details we wanted to get through here on the Full Court Press, broadcasting live from Las Vegas.
A mouth-watering Cafe Sabor burrito, smothered in cheese and fresh guacamole with endless chips and salsa, plus your favorite drink, all for just $7.95. It's Locals Day at Cafe Sabor. Every Thursday, the drinks are bottomless, the chips and salsa are endless, and the burritos are amazing, all for just $7.95. There's nothing better. It's Cafe Sabor's way of saying thanks, Cache Valley. Don't miss Locals Day every Thursday at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station, 6th West and Center in Logan.
Les Olson IT's structured cabling is second to none. Tired of old and inefficient cabling? Have an upgrade or remodel planned? Building a new network from the ground up? We offer the very best in low voltage cabling installation, including data, phone, fiber optic, and more. Ask us how to get your free consultation today.
Les Olson IT. When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
The Aggies are number one here. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. And yes, game has gone final in the Mountain West Conference. Boise State was down in the first half. They could not do anything in the paint, only getting their shots from outside. They only had 2 field goals inside the three-point arc in the first half, but they made some adjustments and just really clamped down on defense in the second half, and they pull away from San Diego State, not allowing a field goal from the Aztecs in the final 9+ minutes, and Boise State wins it by 10 to advance to face New Mexico tomorrow in the Mountain West Conference semifinal. Boise State wins 62-52, outscoring San Diego State 34-19 in the second half. And the only points in the final 10 minutes or so from the Aztecs came at the free throw line. So just quite the adjustment there by the Broncos to turn things around and to finish the game. Alvaro Cardenas, he had finished with 16 points, 4 assists. Tyson Degenhart, 14 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 steals, 2 key steals. Andrew Meadow with 12 points and 7 rebounds, 3 steals for him. And Peanut Carmichael with 10 points, 5 rebounds, and a steal. Almost every starter had a steal. Cardenas, surprising, is the only starter who did not have a steal for Boise State. They just really turned up the defensive presence and pressure in the second half. But also of note, not that it's an excuse, but it is a situation that that played out. San Diego State did not play Magoon Guath. He never saw the court. He had a brace on his knee, was seen on the sidelines, but never checked into the game to try to affect the game for the Aztecs.
Yeah, maybe could have helped him a little bit. I think it could have helped in the inside, but I guess the Aztecs' problem wasn't their defense inside. Because, they held Boise to 4 points in the paint in the first half. They did allow 12 points in the paint for the Broncos in the second half, but 16 points in the paint for the entire game isn't exactly criminal for a defense. They held Boise State 62. Not having Magoon Guath wasn't the problem here. The problem was they couldn't make a dang shot. B.J. Davis goes 2 for 11. Miles Bird was basically non-existent. He only takes 6 shots, makes 1 of them. Nick Boyd, he's been so much better on offense, because Miles Bird was kind of supposed to be the guy on offense. He was kind of taking that role on, but then Nick Boyd kind of took that over. It's hey, he was the guy who was more efficient than Bird. I think Bird's going to have to take a big step forward next year, and I think he will, but this year just not been efficient enough to lead the team. But even in a secondary role, guys like Davis and Bird and Coleman Jones just couldn't get going enough. And so, I said you score 19 points in the second half, that's not enough. But credit has to go to Boise State. I know I bagged on them a lot in the first half about the matchup, but they, defense, if you can play defense, doesn't matter the matchup that you have. If you can play good defense, you can beat any team.
Right. So you're always going to give yourself a chance.
Yeah. I mean, it was like when I remember watching, who was the team that beat Purdue, who was the 1 seed? Was that Farley Dickinson? There's somebody that beat Purdue. It was the 16 seed that beat Purdue. It was almost comical watching them guard Zach Edey, who's he's like all 7'4", 7'5", and like the tallest guys they had were like 6'7", 6'8", but they played defense on him and they forced him into bad situations. They managed to win the game and upset Purdue. And so it's like you may have this criminal matchup problem, but if you can play defense, you can win a game. So that's what Boise State did. They went out there and they played fantastic defense and absolutely earned this win.
Yeah, and so looking at what's going to happen next round. And what's the series been like between Boise State and New Mexico? The Lobos won their first meeting 84-65, really took it to them, but Boise State flipped it around and they win 86-78 on their court, beating New Mexico in their second meeting. Those two games about a month apart from each other. Boise State struggled away from home famously, played really well against teams normally on their home court. Colorado State really the main exception to that. But, can they, on a neutral site, how is it going to play out? New Mexico didn't necessarily blow San Jose out of the water, but
that's just been a weird matchup for New Mexico all year.
That's true. They struggled with them earlier in the year.
Yeah. Both games they played, like they won in the pit by 6 against San Jose, and then they lost to them on the road. And sometimes you just have it. It's just that one team, like with Utah State and Wyoming. Utah State couldn't take care of Wyoming really in both games.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's just that one team that puts a needle in your eye, and you can't figure it out. Even if you win the games. Like Utah State won both those games against Wyoming, but it's just like kind of weird. You almost wouldn't have wanted to face them. Heck, Fresno State was like that last year for the Aggies. Fresno State wasn't good. Weren't 2 of the
games went to overtime,
including in the Mountain West tournament. So the Aggies were just way better than Fresno State last year, but they, I think they still won all 3 games, but it was just a weird thing. I think that's the way New Mexico was with San Jose. So, but now they're going to have to face Boise, who, they split that series. And who knows if Boise manages to play their best. I don't think they have as many of the matchup issues. I think they can play New Mexico pretty tight. But we'll have to see.
Getting to the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 8968 texting in, starting to look like Boise State's going to win. That's too bad. I mean, I don't know if there's a win anywhere there. It's kind of a lose-lose. You kind of want both teams somehow to lose, but that can't happen. But, Boise State wins. They advance. Win by 10, win by double digits to face New Mexico tomorrow night. And then 5338 texting in, whatever happened to Sean Bairstow?
So he went to VCU and he played 1 year there. And if I remember, he did all right. But yeah, he only had the 1 year left while Shulga had the 2. Well, actually, I think Sean had some injury issues that kept him out for part of the year. I'm looking him up right now if I can type with one hand here. He played the 1 year. He played 25 games, averaged 10 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. So yeah, he had the 1 year, played decently well. Not quite as good as his final year. I think all around he was slightly better at Utah State in that final year he was there. But still a decent year at VCU under Ryan Odom. Early injury issues aside, but he still got to play most of his final season.
Yeah. So that's a fair question. There were a couple of guys who followed Coach Odom.
Yeah, it was him and Max both went to VCU in the same offseason, but right. Shulga had more eligibility left. So still, this is his final season.
435-339-0321. If you want to chime in on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. And we've got a couple games done in the Mountain West for the day today. 2 more on the docket in the evening schedule. So right now they're clearing out the arena at Thomas and Mack. And then later on here in about less than 30 minutes or so, they're supposed to open it up for the second session, which will feature Colorado State and Nevada, and then Utah State and UNLV. So let's look at just quickly Colorado State and Nevada. This game only projected to be a 4.5-point game in favor of the Rams. Colorado State won both their meetings, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. The previous 2 times that they faced Nevada.
Yeah, there were some close games though, and it's interesting because let's see, Colorado State, they won 66-64. That was at Nevada, and then at home they won by 8. So both of those games were pretty close. I don't know if they've played since Trey Coleman's injury. So, because that happened fairly late in the year for Nevada. Might have actually happened during the Colorado State game, to be honest. So, the thing here, though, is that Nevada is kind of at their lowest point, where they've lost 5 of their last 7 games. Now, mind you, those 5 losses are Colorado State, Boise, UNLV, New Mexico, San Diego State. They played the cream of the crop in the conference.
Yeah, they had a murderer's row to get out.
Yeah, over their last 6 games. Their one win was against Wyoming, and they blew Wyoming out. And then they blew out Fresno State. They won by 15, controlled that game by double digits for like the entire game. If they can, if it's a game like we've seen a lot of the other Mountain West teams where like nobody can score, Colorado State's been bad away from home typically, the exception being one of their most recent games where they played really well away from home at Boise State. So maybe they've gotten away from not playing well away from home. But if there's something in the air in the stadium, and maybe they need to clear it out because nobody can play on offense in the tournament, except for Nevada, who scored 86 points. And I think the next closest team in terms of points is probably the team they beat, Fresno State, who scored 71. Everyone else has been scoring in the 60s, if not the 50s. So if we see another game where teams aren't scoring a whole lot, then to be honest, Nevada would probably prefer that because in those low-scoring games, that's where anything can happen. So we'll see if Colorado State's able to maintain the momentum. They are kind of undeniably the hottest team in the conference right now.
Yes.
I don't think you can make much of an argument. Maybe New Mexico, but they lost 2 games in a row not too long ago, and they've only sort of recovered from that. So Colorado State should be able to handle Nevada pretty well, but they're going to have to continue what they did, in their away from home game, Boise, especially offensively. Otherwise, you could put yourself in danger of being a victim of March Madness.
It is madness. That's why we love this time of year. Quick text before we hit the full court press timeout. This is from the Young Power Sports of Logan text line from 9315. What are your guys' odds that Boise beats New Mexico?
Not bad. The Broncos did beat New Mexico in Extra Mile Arena somewhat convincingly, didn't they?
84-65.
Yeah, so.
But then they lost in the pit 86-78. Excuse me. No,
it was the other way
around. The road team won both times.
Yeah. No, Boise State won at home 86-78, and New Mexico won in the pit 84-65.
Sorry, I'm looking on the New Mexico.
Yeah, I was going to say that's why you're looking at the wrong
backwards. Yeah, so the home teams won each time. So yeah, I mean, which Boise State team shows up? Right? Is it the team that played well in the second half today, or is it the team that played in the second half near the end of the season against Colorado State?
Yeah, and the biggest thing is their defense. Like, they're not going to stop Donovan Dent, but do they stop everyone else? Because that's what San Jose did to New Mexico today. They couldn't stop Donovan Dent, but they kept everyone else from scoring. If Boise does the same thing, and so long as they don't kind of crap the bed on offense like they did tonight, then they'll win. And heck, even if they play bad on offense, so long as they keep to that defensive game plan and limit everybody else except for Donovan Dent or everybody except for Nelly Jr. Joseph, then Boise State's going to have a good chance. I'd say it's about 70-30. My confidence that New Mexico wins that game. New Mexico 70. I don't know if I have to say that out loud, but I'm pretty confident that I was more confident that San Diego State could beat New Mexico. So I'd give New Mexico better chances to make the championship game at this point. But Boise State can definitely beat them, and obviously we've already seen that at least once this season.
All right, quick timeout. We'll be right back with some final thoughts from Las Vegas here on the Full Court Press.
Locker 42 is a store for Utah State fans. Many of the items you'll find there are custom, one-of-a-kind, produced by Locker 42. Such production allows for the best possible prices and custom orders that are unheard of at this level, and is one of the highest contributing licensees for royalty sales. Your purchase at Locker 42 is supporting scholarships and student athletes. Hoodies, t-shirts, hats, jackets, everything Aggie is at Locker 42. Locker 42, a store for Aggie fans by Aggie fans.
Need a reliable partner for your medical needs? Look no further than Triton Medical and Transportation. We offer top quality medical soft goods right here in your community. From incontinence supplies and oxygen needs to medical transportation. Whatever you need to stay comfortable and healthy, we've got you covered. Trust Triton Medical and Transportation, caring for our community with every step, every mile. Call us today at 435-557-6687 or visit us online at mytritonsupply.com. Triton Medical and Transportation, because your help matters.
No matter what the conditions, DD Auto and Salvage can get your vehicle up and off your property. Now is the time to plan to make extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage and moving that old vehicle. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204 today. See store for details.
This is Kyle at Advanced Door, and we guarantee every garage door we install for a lifetime, parts and labor. That's every door, every spring, every roller, every track, every motor. The entire garage door system guaranteed for a lifetime, parts and labor. We're Advanced Door, and we guarantee you'll be hearing this for a long time. Find out more at advanced-door.com. That's advanced-door.com.
Interviews, analysis, and a little bit of fun mixed in. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, home of the Mountain West Conference Tournament, the West Coast Conference Tournament, the WAC Tournament, the Big West Tournament.
Used to be the Pac-12 as well.
Yeah, it's true. It's basketball tournament heaven.
The land of conference tournaments.
Yes. So if you got the time and the will, I guess you could bounce around and watch a lot of basketball in Las Vegas in 1 week's time.
Heck, I just hang out at the Thomas and Mack all day usually, and I get plenty of basketball.
Yeah, that's true. That's good enough.
I'm going to be catching the tail end at least of the Colorado-Nevada game.
Hey, reminder, Best of Northern Utah voting is underway. We've received all the nominations. Hundreds of businesses are there. And so now you can see who to vote on for the Best of Northern Utah. Who's really the best at what they do? Go check it out and place your vote. You can vote once per day at bestofnorthernutah.com. You can vote on as many different categories as you want, but only once per day can you cast your vote. bestofnorthernutah.com. And we're going to see who's the best in the Mountain West. We're still trying to figure that out. We know one bracket for tomorrow night is set. New Mexico versus Boise State. That'll tip off at 6:30 Pacific, 7:30 Mountain. And then waiting to see what happens on the other side of that one with both Colorado State and Utah State with their games respectively later on tonight to decide who faces each other on Friday.
It's the first time in 17 years that San Diego State will not be in the semifinal of the Mountain West Conference Tournament.
Oh, wow.
Not since 2007.
That is crazy.
I was in like junior high back then.
That is crazy. Yeah, definitely a struggling season for the Aztecs this year for a lot of different reasons. They leaned in heavy on freshmen this year, and certainly that should pay dividends for them down the road.
If they keep this core together, they will be much better next year and potentially Sweet 16 Final Four caliber in a couple.
Yes. But last little bit with you here on the Full Court Press. There's a story that came out in who was it? Front Office Sports.
I don't know who came out with it first. I'm looking at one from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, but I do think Front Office Sports might have been the first one to note it.
One that I saw was from Front Office Sports. Essentially, so we don't have a lot of time to get into it, the headline basically is that UNLV might not be able to pay Dan Mullen his full contract. Yeah. They don't have enough money in the bank to get past the first 2 years of his 5-year, $17.5 million contract.
Yeah, apparently just so desperate. You can see why maybe they didn't make the jump to the Pac-12 because it's going to cost Utah State a pretty penny just to get in buyouts and whatnot. And apparently UNLV couldn't even come close to affording it because they didn't make the jump and they still can't even pay their bills.
Yeah, they needed the bribe from the Mountain West and they still need more. So we laughed at them and mocked them for being so short-sighted. They may not have, what it comes down to is they didn't have a choice. They had to take the money in hand because they couldn't afford anything else that they were doing.
It's crazy.
It's bonkers. So poor UNLV hosting the Mountain West Conference tournament for a few more days.
Yeah, just a couple more days.
Hey, that's going to do it for us. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Of your starters real big minutes because there's no, I mean, yes, okay, we want do you really want a number one? Is it really that big a deal to get a number one seed if a number one versus number two, or if we lose early, we're a 5 seed instead of a 4 seed or a 6 seed instead of a 7 seed? Now, if you need to win, if you need a couple of wins for your resume, then absolutely, you know who's on the bubble and who's not, right? Okay, we got to play our guys. But for teams at the top, the teams that are in the top 25 that, hey, we feel pretty good about getting in, you kind of need to treat the tournament week like NFL teams treat the end of the season when they have a place clinched in the playoffs and they really can't move around. Whereas, do you even play your starters or do you play them just a few minutes in each half so they can just get a few minutes and then you take them out? Because really, there's no scenario where this helps you. Yay, you're Duke. You win your ACC tournament champion regular season. You win the conference tournament. What does it matter? Right? Like teams don't.
To get the rest of what Jason Smith and Mike Harmon said, podcast it by searching The Jason Smith Show with Mike Harmon. And as always, you can hear The Jason Smith Show with Mike Harmon weeknights at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, right here on Fox Sports Radio. This is The Herd.
Wow, 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 wow.
With Colin Cowherd.
San Francisco's had a great 6-year run. So San Francisco yesterday and over the last couple of days has done what's very hard to do. They walked away from really, really good players and acknowledged, yeah, we worked really hard. We got to a bunch of Super Bowls and NSA championships. We didn't get a trophy, and we're not going to get one with this group. So they let good players go. Kyle Juszczyk's been a Pro Bowler 8 years. Greenlaw, the linebacker. Ward, the corner. Aaron Banks. Hufunga, the safety. Deebo Samuel. And said, listen, we had a stacked roster. We got close. A bunch. We didn't win. I would have done this last season. I said going into this year, the Cowboys and the Niners, regression was going to begin, and they have both absolutely peaked.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Wow.
Weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. He's Steve Covino.
I'm slightly vato.
He's Rich Davis.
I may jump through this glass window in the studio.
And they do it all.
Let's talk about all of it.
Radio for the people.
I like that. Pretty solid.
Your afternoon pick-me-up.
Covino and Rich. All right.
Ooh, yeah. It's Covino and Rich.
No woman's ever told you you're Mariano Rivera in the bedroom. Wait a second.
Weekdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio. To find FS1 on your television, go to foxsports.com for details.
Go! Check them out.
FS1.
Check them out.
FS1.